Hello everyone, welcome to the editorial analysis brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy. Today, 29th November. Displayed here are the list of articles that we will be discussing. The first article, Armed Insurrection to Parliamentary Politics. This article is talking about a change in the left-wing politics from revolution to parliamentary participation. And this article is taken from the newspaper The Hindu. The second article, X and U. This article is talking about the power asymmetry between the social media platforms and the social media users. And this article is taken from the newspaper Indian Express. So without much delay, let's begin our discussion with the first article. Armed Insurrection to Parliamentary Politics. The article is taken from the newspaper The Hindu. So this article is talking about a change in the left-wing ideologies from a revolutionary mindset to parliamentary politics. And this change is witnessing not only in India, not only in Sri Lanka, it is witnessing in every part of the world, including El Salvador and other regions. So let us discuss more about this article from UPSC mains point of view, because the left-wing ideologies, extremist movements, everything will be asked in paper 3 under the topic internal security. First we'll see what is mean by left politics, left-wing politics. So these are just features. So you have to understand about what is the meaning of this left-wing politics. So to understand about the left-wing politics, you have to go back to the 19th century or before the 19th century or the pre-Marxian period. Even in the pre-Marxian period, we had certain philosophers who advocated for socialism, and Marx is considered as a father of scientific socialism because he studied the proper course of history in the perspective of dialect, in the perspective of material dialectical, in the perspective of historical materialism. So according to Marx, the history is nothing but class struggle. In the every phase of history, there will be two classes. The class struggle between these two classes will result into the development of next phase. For example, in the primitive society, according to the Marxian perspective, it was somewhat egalitarian because the people shared the resources and there was no proper or regulated or authoritarian control over the resources. And but the ancient phase, the first phase is slavery, where the slaves were the means of production were controlled by the masters, and slaves were exploited, and slaves were the next one class and the masters were the another class. And coming to the next phase, that is feudalism, where the means of production means it can be land, it can be factory, or it can be anything that are used for producing commodities in the society. And in the second phase, in the third phase, that is feudalism, the serfs were one class and the feudal lords were the one class, and the land we can consider it as a means of production. And the next phase, that is the capitalist phase, emerged with the development of industrial revolution in the 19th century, and Marx also lived in the period of industrial revolution only. And you can see that in that industrial revolution, the means of production will be controlled by the bourgeoisie class and the working class will be exploited. And through controlling the means of production, the class which is controlling the means of production will eventually control the superstructure of the society according to the Marxian perspective. So what is meant by the superstructure? Superstructure means every social institution. That means the class which is controlling the means of production can influence the social institution. It can control the governance, including police, defense, everything. It can even control the thought and the science that is spreading in the society. So and he can even distort the facts for his own benefit and profit. So this is what the Marxian perspective is all about. And later after Marx, Lenin developed the Marxian perspective called Marxist-Leninist perspective. And next we know what happened in Russia, the Russian Revolution, the development of USSR under Stalin, and finally after the World War, a bipolar world, and that came to an end with the collapse of Soviet Union in the year 1991. So this is a brief history or the world history of left-wing politics. And coming to the certain features of left-wing politics, definitely left-wing politics influenced India too, because in India we have different factions of left-wing parties. For example, CPI, Communist Party of India; CPIM, Communist Party of India, Marxist. Then we have CPIML, that is Marxist-Leninist, emerged in 1960s. Like that, we have various communist factions in India. So these are the certain displayed here are the certain features of communist or the left-wing politics. First one is it is standing for the social equality and economic redistribution. That means, according to the Marxist perspective, the land will be controlled by one class. So once there is the a political change, the government, according to the Marx, the laborers will establish a state socialism after revolting against after defeating the bourgeoisie class in a revolution. So therefore, promoting social equality, economic redistribution, and advocating for government intervention to address the inequality in the society. And the left politics is also emphasizing on social justice, civil rights, gender equality, sustainability. Progressive tax means tax collection for the development and welfare of the people, social welfare schemes, programs, and workers' right. And if you study the USSR properly, you can see all these initiatives were taken under the Stalin and the Lenin government, right? And economic redistribution, for example, in the case of India, after independence, we captured and redistributed land among the people, and that is famously known as land reform since 1950. And we also have progressive taxation, social welfare scheme. Best example, we have the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. We have Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. We have Poshan Abhiyan. These kind of social schemes, and then we have the Workers Labor Act in India for the protection of workers, and advocating, that means intervention of government for addressing the inequality in the society through various schemes and the measures, including constitutional provisions. The biggest initiative the India ever taken is the reservation in education and employment for the empowerment of a marginalized community who are suppressed for last 2000 years. Then the government is also emphasizing on social justice, civil rights, gender equality, and environmental sustainability. The best example we have is the net zero 2070. So we often hear the word left wing and right wing. What is the major difference between these two political ideologies? We just now we saw the features of the left wing ideologies, like the government intervention to resolve the inequality in the society, while the right wing ideologies, they are emphasizing on free market capitalism for making profit and the individual liberties. And the next feature is support social progressive taxation, but here the right wing is supporting privatization and favors public sector. Here it is favoring the individual responsibility and traditional values. And some of the political parties, if you take with the left wing perspective in India, in the case of India, we have the CPIM and CPI, that is Marxist Communist Party of India. Still the 1990s, the Indian National Congress was also somewhat socialist in nature, because we know the Nehru was a socialist, and after his period, Indira Gandhi took a lot of initiatives such as nationalization of bank, land reforms and all. And in the case of India, we have certain political parties advocating for right wing agendas, for example, advocating for right wing principles, for example, BJP and Shiva Sena and all. Coming to the historical grassroots of left wing politics in India, so we know that we just now, when I started the discussion, I just mentioned the development of left wing politics in the world, right? But till the 1800s, or throughout the 1800s, or until the beginning of the 20th century, no one believed that the left wing politics or the left wing ideas are applicable. But Lenin changed this through the Russian Revolution, and this Russian Revolution became a biggest inspiration for all the colonies in the pre-independent time, including India. And the inspiration and the values of this Russian Revolution, and followed by the development of USSR, also inspired many anti-colonial movement and anti-imperialist movements. And the values of this left-wing principles also influenced India, because if you see after the First World War, the famous example, Bhagat Singh. People like Bhagat Singh were all socialist in nature. If you take the history of India after the First World War, we can see the strong influence of Russian Revolution. The best example is Bhagat Singh. The left-wing politics in India emerged during the time of anti-colonial struggle, and it is mostly influenced by the socialist ideologies and the communist movements across the world, followed by the Russia and China. And then in 1925, M.N. Roy and his comrades established the Communist Party of India after getting inspiration from Leninist principles in Soviet Union. And you can see throughout the throughout the freedom movement time, the left-wing politics also protested against the British imperialist rule and advocated for the welfare of workers and peasant people. Advocating for the welfare of workers and peasants. Coming to the certain contributions of left-wing politics to India, first is 5-year plan. This plan was actually introduced in Soviet Union in 1925, followed by the death of Lenin, and it was established under the leadership of Stalin. So according to this 5-year plan, the government will frame the policies and schemes for the next 5 years, and they will allocate a separate budget for that. So that is how this will work. And the 5-year plans of India and the USSR both were successful in the beginning. And in the 5-year plan of USSR also became inspiration for various other plans in 1930s, because the 1930s the entire world was suffering from the Great Depression. For example, if you take the concept of welfare state of Britain, they used it is similar to the 5-year plans of USSR only, and the New Deal policy of FDR, it is somewhat similar to the 5-year plan of USSR only. And the post-independent time, India also adopted this 5-year plan for the development. For example, the first 5-year plan, which is framed by K.N. Raj, gave importance to agriculture development and land reforms. And the second 5-year plan, which is based on the industrialization, which gave more priority to industrialization, and that is based on the ideas of Nehru and Mahalanobis. And it is also known as Nehru and Mahalanobis model development. And we also took various social and economic welfare schemes under this 5-year plans. For example, the MG Narega scheme, which is giving 100 days jobs for the unemployed people, particularly in the rural area. And the next initiative is the land reforms. Land reform, it is aligning with the concept of economic redistribution proposed by the left-wing politics, and this played an important role in empowering the landless laborers and landless people in India. And the major initiatives regarding the land reforms were taken in the state of Kerala and West Bengal, and that too under the the left politics only, left parties only. And the development of trade union movements, especially, it is very important for that the welfare and raising the voice of the working community. And in the case of India, the trade unions were active even from the pre-independent time. M.N. Roy was one of the leaders, trade union leaders. He, even though he is not directly related to the trade unions, he became inspiration for many trade union movements in India. And the next is economic planning, which is focusing on self-reliance, industrialization, and welfare. India also focusing on this because these are the principles of 5-year plans. Coming to the welfare measures, universal education, healthcare, and social security. These all principles are influenced from left-wing politics only, because if you look into the history of USSR, USSR was the first nation in the world to give maternal leave and free healthcare to every citizen in the nation. Universal education completely owned by the state, that too with the scholarship. And the empowerment of the marginalized communities, for example, through land reforms, labor movements. The left politics is looking for the empowerment and upliftment of the weaker sections in the society. And the next is electoral democracy. Actually, the election is not aligning with the the real Marxian Leninist principles. But even though in the case of India, election also played an important role in bringing the left wing ideologies and principles. For example, the state of Kerala was the first place in the world that witnessed the coming of a communist party forming government through election, through democratic election. And the state of Kerala played a successful role in maintaining the balance between welfare of the people and development of the state, even till today. And the next we are going to see the difference between left-wing politics and left-wing extremism. Left-wing politics is working within the democratic framework. That means without affecting the social, political, and economic order of a state. And but coming to the left-wing extremism, they reject all peaceful changes. They want revolution, that means overthrowing the existing state and establishing a new order. And the next major the feature of the left-wing politics is seeking social justice through peaceful means and reforms, while it is the left-wing extremism is seeking social justice through, like I said, through insurgency or revolution. And certain features of left-wing politics are labor rights, welfare programs, public sector expansion and all. But in the case of left-wing extremism, the means of achievement is guerrilla tactics to achieve a classless society. Even though the Marxian principle also looking into the revolution will not be that will not be determined by the organization or the political party. There, according to the Marxian principle or the Leninist principle, there is a time for doing revolution. Otherwise, it will not achieve its objective. But this left-wing extremism is entirely, is deviating from the real Marxian Leninist principle. Coming to the challenges faced by India due to this left-wing extremism, first one is Naxalism and Maoism. So this has created problems such as insurgency in tribal-dominated areas in India, that is also known as Red Corridor. And the violence related to the left-wing extremism, for example, the loss of infrastructure, the loss of life of security forces and civilians, and development is stagnation. Because of this left-wing extremism, it hinders the economic activities, infrastructure development, and the social services in that region. Because if a region is facing constant instability or violence, then people will not be ready to invest in such areas. So this can this can lead to underdevelopment of that particular region for a very long time. And the next is alienation, that is marginalization of tribal population fuels extremism in India. In UPSC also you may face the questions like, what is the relationship between extremism and underdevelopment, or underdevelopment leading to extremism, or extremism leading to underdevelopment? Actually, it is a loop only. So, for example, the government is not taking proper measures to empower or to for the development of the tribal communities or marginalized communities in India, then definitely the deviant activities, including extremism, will grow in such land. And if there is any extremism or such anti-social or any deviant activities taking place in a particular area, then definitely that area will be alienated. So this is a loop. So you can expect a question from this area related to the alienation of due to the left-wing extremism, or how the left-wing extremism is leading to alienation of communities. Coming to the certain measures taken by the government to control the extremism, First, we have the development-oriented initiatives such as integrated action plan, aspirational district programs, and special central assistance. For example, the integrated action plan is looking for infrastructure development, because the underdevelopment is a major reason behind the growth of extremism. And the second one is aspirational district. This program is focusing on the socio-economic development of the extremism-affected regions through giving proper credit facility, employment opportunity, and all. And then we have the special center assistance, that is aiming for livelihood generation and skilling of the people in extremism affected area. And coming to the certain security measures, first we have the Operation Hunt, which is launched in 2009 to counter the insurgency operations in the Red Corridor region. And then we have the modernization of police forces, for example, deploying more forces, training, and these kind of things will be done for increasing the capacity to fight the extremism. And then we have the Bastaria Battalion, that is a special CRPF force comprising social youth, tribal youth, to fight the extremism in extremism affected region. Coming to the policy and legal framework, ban on CPIM, that is. And apart from these two measures, we have also taken certain conciliatory measures. For example, the government is pardoning the individuals who are confessing, and at the same time we are also giving opportunities for them to develop through employment and education and all. So these kind of measures has also taken. And I think that to overcome the problems such as extremism in India, we need a proper plan for development, and we need a conciliatory measure to talk and with the extremist leaders instead of going for a direct fight always. But anyhow, India made a significant progress in fighting extremism, and in the last decade, especially in the last 2 decades, the government took significant steps to control extremism in India through various measures. And it is almost down, and the Red Corridor in India itself is diminishing slowly. So in this context, let us discuss a mains question. The question is, how has left-wing extremism impacted democratic frameworks, and what challenges arise in reconciling Marxist ideologies with the democratic governance in contemporary India? And it is a 15 marks question, and you have to write around 250 words, and it has 2 parts. The first part, you have to address how the left-wing extremism is impacting the democratic framework, because a democratic framework has its own way of doing things, while the left-wing extremism has a different way of doing things. So this can impact the democratic framework in various ways. For example, in development, violence, public order will be affected, and sometimes even the democratic activities, including the elections, can be affected. So these kind of issues you can highlight in that place. And the second part, what challenges arise in reconciling Marxist ideologies with the democratic governance in contemporary India? See, the Marxist ideologies has made a lot of positive contributions to Indian society. For example, the 5-year plan, economic redistribution, universal universal health system, these kind of things made. So these kind of things you can highlight in the positive sides. At the same time, the development of left-wing extremism and these kind of things you can talk about in the negative side. So these are the challenges that we are facing in dealing with the in reconciling the Marxist ideologies with the democratic governance in India. So we can try to answer this question and post it in the comment section. We will review and repay for your answer. X and U. A case in US bankruptcy court underlines power asymmetry between social media users and social media platform. This article is taken from the newspaper Indian Express. But before getting into the discussion, let me ask you one question. In your opinion, who will be the most powerful people or individual in the upcoming time? I have four options for you. First one, scientists. Second one, rich people. Third one, military leaders. Fourth one, state leaders. Can you make a guess? But the answer is none of the above. If you read the book 21 Lessons for 21st Century written by Yuval Noah Harari, you will be coming across a chapter called Big Data. Yes, the people who are controlling the big data will be the most influential and powerful people in the upcoming time, because they are not only controlling a political dynamics of a state or economic trend, they can even control your thought process and shape your opinions. And the social medias are one of the important sources for getting this big data. And in this context, we have a case from USA where two social media platforms, first one Info was owned by Alex Jones, and second one X, that is former Twitter, owned by Elon Musk. These two platforms are getting complaints related to spreading conspiracy theories, controversies, misinformations, and regulation. And in the context of India, understanding the proper usage of social media and digital ethics is very important, because India is a diverse nation, and even a small misinformation can lead to catastrophic events. So in this background, let us discuss more about the positive, negatives of social media and what are the acts that we have in India to regulate such platforms. So let's get into the discussion. First, we are going to see the social media and its influence on individuals. First, we'll start with the positive impacts. Empowering through knowledge, that is spreading knowledge. For example, if you take the platforms like LinkedIn, they give opportunity for employment. At the same time, it also organizes scholarly communities like research scholars and college faculties. So many research work, paper presentation, everything is happening through LinkedIn. And this online platforms played an important role in crisis time. That is, during the time of COVID-19, digital education played an important role in empowering every community, especially avoiding confusions in education system. And the second one is social connectivity. That is, with the emergence of the social media, we even broke the national barriers and got into relation with different cultures and different people. And therefore, this plays an important role in reducing social isolation. For example, the platforms like Zoom and Instagram plays an important role in spreading culture, preserving culture, getting to know the culture, and at the same time breaking national and cultural barriers. But at the same time, the social media can also make you feel so lonely. We will be discussing that in the negative side. And the third major positive side is the amplification of voices, because the social media can sometimes also act as a medium for expressing your opinion, your protest, your opposition to public policies, or in unjust social incidents. For example, social media movements like Me Too played an important role in bringing justice to sexually assaulted survivors. And the movements like Black Lives Matter, which emerged following the death or the assassination of George Floyd in USA, played an important role in protesting against racism in this 21st century. And coming to the certain negative impacts of the social media on individuals, the first one is the mental health concerns. For example, the concept of perfect life, which is often projected in the social media, can lead to anxiety, depression, and body image problems in people, especially in the young people. For example, the social media can certain times spread certain stereotype. Like, for example, if you are a man, you should have at least 6 feet height. You should have a broad shoulder. So these kind of beauty standards sometimes social media will set, and this can lead to severe depression and anxiety and body image issues, especially in the young population, and it can affect the self-esteem and confidence in the teenagers. And the second major concern is misinformation and polarization. Certain times the communal groups or political parties can spread fake news to get votes from the people, and therefore this polarization or misinformation can sometimes even lead to catastrophic communal riots, especially in sensitive societies like India. The best example we have is the 2013 Muzaffarnagar riot, so which that communal riot claimed 60 to 80 innocent people's life. And during the time of COVID-19 also, we witnessed certain pseudoscience spreading through the social media platform, especially through WhatsApp. And the major problem is, the people lacking education, or people living in the rural background or in the remote background, sometimes even experiment the facts, not even fact, the distorted facts that we are seeing in social media, and that can even sometimes lead to severe health issues and other problems. And coming to the cultural impact of the social media, we have both positive and negative impacts. The first one is global cultural exchange or transculturation. For example, the social media platforms, will bring a lot of cultures together in one platform. For example, the popularity recently, the K-pop, the Korean pop bands, they are receiving huge popularity across the social media. The best example is the recent popularity that BTS the band received. And at the same time, preservation of culture. For example, the organizations such as UNESCO is using social media platform for the protection of certain languages and cultural knowledges. And coming to the negative impacts related to the culture, the first one is homogenization of culture or deculturation. Sometimes the overuse of social media or the spread of culture through the social media can lead to loss of cultural identity. For example, the beauty, the Western standard beauties, the projecting women with a white skin or men with a white skin, 6 feet height, these kind of beauty standards sometimes the social media will be setting up, and this can this is against the values and principles of other non-Western societies across the world. And the next is cancel culture, that is silencing the diverse point of views in the people. Coming to the economic influence of the social media, we have both negative and positive impacts. First one is the development of digital and e-commerce. For example, recently we have we have n numbers of digital e-commerce platform with us, ranging from Amazon, Flipkart to Septo, which brings every services to the doorstep. And this platform can also create jobs. For example, you might have heard about the term gig economy, right? Therefore, this kind of social media platforms can play an important role in bringing temporary income and employment for people, especially to the young people. And this also creates many other opportunities, such as digital content creation, digital marketing and all. And coming to the negative impacts of the social media, we have the exploitation of data. That means sometimes the data stored about the individuals can be misused. For example, the Cambridge Analytica scandal in 2018, in that incident, the personal data of the students were misused for political gain. And we know that if you take the recent steps of every digital initiatives of India, we are giving equal importance to the privacy of the individuals. For example, yesterday we talked about the one nation one subscription initiative, and in the one nation one subscription initiative you can see that the government is creating a data vault, and in the data vault you can store the financial data of the individuals, and we can prevent the misuse of the financial data. So these kind of issues are there, exploitation of data. And the second is the economic inequality, that is due to the large corporations dominating the advertising, and therefore this become hurdle for a small and micro business enterprises for developing. Coming to the political influence of social media, first we have the positive impacts, that is democratic participation, transparency and accountability, and grassroots mobilization. For example, democratic participation, if you take the 2024 general election itself, you can see that the videos of Dhruva Rati played an important role in shaping the electoral outcome and public opinion during the time of general election. And grassroots mobilization, for example, organizing people, just like we said in the case of Me Too and in the case of Black Lives Matter, sometimes the physical protest can be organized through social media. And the best example, we have the Arab Spring. And Arab Spring, what is mean by Arab Spring? Any idea? Arab Spring refers to a wave of democratic movements that emerged in the North Africa and West Asia against the dictator form of governments existed there. And the best example we have is the anti-Gaddafi movement in the Libya. But unfortunately, this Arab Spring did not meet its objective, because many movements were suppressed by the dictatorial governments, and many movements resulted into catastrophic stage. For example, Libya, they successfully eliminated the Gaddafi rule, but Libya still it is facing sectorial conflict and internal war. So the Arab Spring did not meet its objective. And next is transparency and accountability. For example, we can use the social media platforms like my government to interact with the government, and then the national leaders itself using the social media platform for verification and for for expressing their opinions and ensuring the trust of the people. For example, the Prime Minister of India itself is communicating through Twitter to ensure the fact of his statements. Coming to the negative impact of the social media, first one is manipulation of the public opinion. This is through disinformation, and also sometimes through creating biased algorithms. So through that we can manipulate the public opinion. And then we have the authoritarian surveillance. For example, yes, we know that the societies are very sensitive to various sentiments, but at the same time, who is controlling the social media or the surveillance is also a matter of discussion. Therefore, authoritarian surveillance sometimes lead to the oppression of the freedom of speech and expression, and therefore the social media can sometimes become a platform of anti-democratic actions. And for example, we can see certain nations. For example, you can say China. They are restricting the social media usage of the people. So this is how the authoritarian surveillance is impacting the freedom of speech that we have through social media. And the next major challenge is social media and the pseudoscience, the spread of pseudoscience or the distorted facts. For example, during the time of COVID-19, we received a lot of information regarding that you can use this local medicine for curing COVID-19, no need to go for vaccination. And after some time we even received fake news regarding the vaccination. So this created a kind of vaccine hesitancy among the people, and this was one of the major hurdle that we faced in the fight against the COVID-19. And even you might even wonder that even today there are certain communities, they are believing that earth is flat. So such kind of pseudoscience or distorted facts can lead to confusion and conflict in the society. And what can be done against this pseudoscience? First one is AI-driven tools to flag pseudoscientific content. That means application of this AI in the platforms for fact checking. And next is investing in digital literacy campaigns for the users. So sometimes especially the people in the last or in the previous generations, they can't even realize or they can't even differentiate the difference between AI generated videos and real videos. So this can create confusions among the people, especially in the older people. So these kind of issues can be overcome once there is a proper digital literacy. And the next role of social media is in governance, the positive contributions, e-governance. For example, the platform like India's My Government. This is very useful for the individuals to directly communicate with the government departments. And like that I said, the national leaders are also using platforms for making a factual base for their statements or the government in statements and all. And the next is disaster response. So during the time of Turkey Syria earthquake, the social media played an important role in strengthening the coordination against the disaster. And during the time of this Ukraine Russia war also, the Ministry of External Affairs and the Indian embassy in Ukraine used the social media for evacuation of people in the border region of Russia and Ukraine. And the next is crowdsourced governance. For example, the citizens can highlight the local issues through social media platforms. Sometimes such issues will be will be accepted by other part of the society, and that issue become a major issue. So that time the governments can look into the problems of the local communities and can bring a solution for that. So there are a lot of issues like that. If you take the certain remote areas or in the villages, the people can use this social media as a solution for their local problems or to get the government attention towards that problem. But here also in governance also it has its own challenges. For example, the cyber security threat, for example, fake accounts on social media or the bots on social media can spread misinformation like that. So this will hurdle the governance. At the same time, the second is polarization or the politicization of the social media amplifies societal divisions, which is a threat for the inclusive governance. Coming to the regulatory framework that in India we have, first is the Information Technology Rules 2021. This addresses various issues related to the social media platform, for example, from fact checking to removal of harmful content within 24 hours. And this can also, as per this act, we can also trace the origin of that misinformation or the fake news, so we can punish or penalize such proper conspirators in the society. 3, as per this Digital Data Protection Act 2023, there will be a separate fact checking body, and as per this DPDP Act, the government can even impose fine up to 1,000 crore against the entities or companies which are misusing the data of individuals. And definitely there is a need for stricter laws. For example, because the existing laws itself has certain gaps in addressing exploitation, artificial intelligence manipulation, and data monetization. So we need more frameworks to protect the data, as well as to ensure a healthy digital and cyber platform. And we know that India is a country which is giving more importance to digitalized development. Therefore, it is a high time for us to take initiatives in such area. So in this topic, we discussed the positive and negative impact of social media in different aspects: economy, polity, the spread of pseudoscience, and what are the measures that in India, major measures that we have in India to regulate the social media. And in this context, try to answer this mains practice question. The question is: discuss the power asymmetry between users and social media platforms in the context of recent developments. Highlight the role of regulation, user awareness, and digital literacy in addressing the imbalance. So this is a 15 marks question, and you have to write around 250 words. So try to answer the mains practice question and post it in the comment section. We will review your answer and we will reply for your answer. With this, we are coming to the conclusion for today's editorial analysis. If you like the video, hit the like button, give your feedbacks as comments, and share this content with your friends. And before leaving this channel, don't forget to subscribe and also hit the bell icon to receive on-time updates from Shankar IAS Academy. Thank you. Have a nice day. And one more thing, the note about today's discussion will be given as PDF in our description. Do download and study, and all the best for your exams.